Thessaly's hands were still bleeding when Crispin's mother spat at her feet. "Get out! My son says you are nothing. You have always been nothing." The small bag hit the ground beside her. Neighbors watched from their doorways. Nobody moved to help. 7 years. 7 years of waking before sunrise, of washing this family's clothes until her knuckles cracked, of cooking on firewood now smoke ate her eyes, of swallowing insults like medicine. And it had ended here, in the dirt, in front of everyone. She picked up her bag. She did not run. She walked. One foot, then the other. Down the long compound path, through the rusted gate, onto the red earth road that led back to her mother's house. And with every step, the realization settled heavier into her chest. He had not even called to hear her side. Before we go any further, if you are watching this right now, drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. I want to know where in the world my people are. And if stories like this speak to your soul, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notification bell. You do not want to miss what is coming in this story. Now, let us go back to the beginning. Thessaly grew up in a small village in Anambra State, in the southeastern part of Nigeria, where the red earth roads turned muddy in the rainy season, and the smell of ofe onugbu drifted from every compound on Sunday mornings. She was the kind of woman people noticed, not because she forced it, but because her kindness had a presence. When she walked into a room, something settled. People relaxed. She had that gift. Her closest friend in the world was Isolde. They had been together since primary school, sharing food, sharing secrets, sharing the kind of laughter that makes your stomach hurt. The whole village called them Siamese twins. Where one was, the other was never far. Isolde was the louder one, sharper, always the one with a quick mouth and a quicker opinion. Thessaly was the quiet one, the steady one. People loved Isolde, but they trusted Thessaly. It was at the Eke market on a hot Tuesday afternoon that everything changed. Thessaly was reaching for a bunch of fresh ugu leaves when she nearly knocked over a man's basket of tomatoes. She grabbed it before it fell, looked up to apologize, and met the eyes of Crispin. He was not the most handsome man she had ever seen, but there was something in his face, a calm, an openness that made her want to keep looking. He smiled first. "You saved white tomatoes," he said. "Now I owe you something." She laughed. "You owe me nothing." "Then let me walk you home," he said, just to be safe. She let him. That walk turned into a habit. Every Eke market day, Crispin would appear. He would carry her basket. They would take the long way back, past the udala tree, past the stream where children played, talking about everything and nothing. She told him about her father, who died when she was 12, about her dream to own a small shop one day, about how she believed God was fair, even when life was not. He listened to all of it. Isolde noticed the change in Thessaly immediately. "You've been smiling in your sleep," she teased one evening, sitting on the edge of Thessaly's bed. "Crispin has entered your head completely. Admit it." Thessaly buried her face in her wrapper. "Leave me alone." Isolde cackled. "I knew it. You love him." Thessaly looked up, and her eyes were honest. "Yes," she said quietly, "I do." Isolde smiled. At the time, it looked like a happy smile. Looking back later, Thessaly would wonder if something else was already alive behind it. The courtship grew. Crispin came to meet her mother. He brought palm wine and kola nut, the proper way. Her mother watched him carefully over 3 visits and then told Thessaly in the kitchen, "That man has a good spirit. I can see it." Thessaly smiled. For the first time in a long time, the future felt like something she could reach out and hold. Then the opportunity came. Thessaly's uncle, who had been living in the United Kingdom for 15 years, called one evening with news. He had arranged work papers for one person in the family, a genuine opportunity, the kind people in their village prayed for. A placement, accommodation, a chance to build something real. It was for Thessaly. Her name on the papers, her chance. When she told Crispin, she watched his face very carefully. He said all the right things. That is wonderful, you deserve it. But his eyes said something else. A quiet dimming, like a lantern turned low. That night, Thessaly could not sleep. She lay on her mat, listening to the generator in the next compound, to the distant sound of frogs near the stream. She thought about what love was supposed to mean, not just feeling, action, sacrifice. She thought about Crispin's eyes. By morning, she had made her decision. She found him at the borehole just after 6. "Crispin, I want you to take this opportunity." He turned around slowly. "What?" "Go. Go to England. Work hard. Build something. Come back and marry me. I will be here." He stared at her. "Thessaly, that is your chance. Your uncle arranged it for you." "And I am giving it to you," she said, "because when you come back, everything you build will be ours. I trust you." He held her face in both hands and looked at her for a long time. "I will come back," he said. "I swear it." "I know," she said, and she smiled. She should not have smiled so easily, but she believed him. Every part of her believed him. 3 weeks later, Crispin was on a bus to Lagos, then a flight to London. Thessaly stood at the village junction and waved until the dust from the bus settled back on the road. Then she walked to his family compound and knocked on the gate, ready to begin the life of a waiting woman. She had no idea what that life would cost her. Like this video right now if you are already feeling this story, and drop a comment. I want to know, would you have done what Thessaly did? Would you have given up that opportunity for love? Tell me in the comments. Mama Crispin opened the gate herself that morning. She looked Thessaly up and down, the way a trader examines a suspicious coin, turning it slowly, looking for the flaw. "So, you want to stay here and wait for my son?" she said. It was not a question. "Yes, Mama," Thessaly replied. "I want to be close to the family, to show you I am serious." Mama Crispin made a sound deep in her throat. Not agreement, not rejection, something in between. She opened the gate wider. Thessaly walked in. That was the beginning of her quiet suffering. Every morning, before the compound stirred, Thessaly was already at the borehole. The queue formed early, and she wanted to be first, not because anyone asked her to be, but because she understood what was expected. She fetched water for cooking, for bathing, for the compound's general use. She carried the heavy bucket on her head, the way she had been taught, spine straight, steps measured. By the time she poured the last bucket, her neck ached. Then came the washing. Mama Crispin's wrappers, the younger brother's school uniforms, the father's work shirts, the towels, the bed sheets. Thessaly washed everything by hand at the scrubbing stone, her knuckles raw, her back bent. The clothes were many. Some mornings she was still washing when the afternoon sun reached overhead. Cooking came after. Firewood, not gas. The smoke rose and found her eyes without fail, every single day, as if it knew exactly where to go. She cooked egusi, oha, banga, jollof, whatever Mama Crispin called for. And Mama Crispin always found something wrong. "This soup is not thick enough. You added too much crayfish. Are you using my crayfish to show off? The rice is soft. I don't eat soft rice." Thessaly would lower her eyes. "I am sorry, Mama. I will do better." She always did better. It was never enough. Isolde would visit and find her friend like this, sweating over the fire, hair wrapped in an old cloth. "Thessaly, she said one afternoon, sitting on the low kitchen stool watching her. Look at yourself. 4 years. 4 years and that man has not come home once. Not once. You are in this compound cooking and sweating and suffering, and Crispin is in London living his life. Thessaly wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her wrist. He is working, she said, building for our future. Isolde kissed her teeth. Your future. The only thing building here is your age. Thessaly said nothing. She stirred the pot. But at night, everything softened. Crispin called every evening in those first 2 years, without fail. She would sit on the edge of her mat in the small room they had given her, the single bulb flickering, and his voice would fill the room. How are you, my Thessaly? I am fine, she would say. She never told him about the washing, the smoke, the insults. She did not want to add to his burdens. He was working double shifts at a warehouse, sending money home to his family, saving what he could. She would tell him about the weather, about a funny thing the market woman said, about a film she had watched on someone's television. Small things, safe things. He would laugh and she would close her eyes and pretend for a moment that he was in the next room. He sent gifts sometimes, a bottle of perfume, a headscarf in deep blue silk. Once, a small amount of money with a note that simply said, for your own pocket, not for anyone else. Thessaly kept everything in the box under her mat like sacred objects. The perfume she used only at night, spraying it on her pillow so she could fall asleep breathing it. By the 4th year, the calls had thinned, weekly, then fortnightly, then once a month. When she called, it would ring without answer. When he called back, he sounded distracted, pressed. I'm tired, Thessaly. It's been a long week. I know, I just wanted to hear your voice. I'll call you tomorrow. He often did not call tomorrow. She told herself it was the work. She told herself London was hard. She told herself love was not always loud. Sometimes it was quiet. Sometimes it waited. She was telling herself these things on the same evening that Isolde, back in her own house across the village, was staring at a phone screen. Crispin's face had appeared in her Facebook suggestions. She recognized him immediately. But this was not the Crispin she remembered. This one was glowing, well-fed, wearing a clean-fitted shirt, laughing at something outside the frame of the picture. He looked like someone whose life was going exactly as planned. Isolde stared for a long time. Then she sent a request. He accepted within the hour. Isolde, is this you? You haven't changed at all. She smiled at the screen. Neither have you, she typed back. Actually, you've changed. You look good. He sent a laughing emoji. And just like that, a door opened. At first, the messages were innocent. Memories of the village, jokes about people they both knew, questions about family. But Isolde was building something, brick by careful brick, even if Crispin could not see it being built. She sent pictures, the kind that were flattering but not obvious. She asked him questions about himself, his work, his dreams, the things Thessaly had stopped asking because she did not want to seem demanding. She made him feel seen, admired, chosen. Then, after 6 weeks of this, she struck. Crispin, I need to tell you something. I've been going back and forth about this, but you are my friend and you deserve to know. He replied quickly. What is it? Is everything okay? Isolde typed slowly, deliberately. It's about Thessaly. A pause. What about her? She's changed, Crispin. I hate to say it, but since you left, she has been going out, clubs in town, men. People are talking about her. The whole village knows. I haven't said anything because I didn't want to cause trouble, but I can't keep watching you be deceived. The messages sat on the screen. Crispin did not reply for 3 minutes. Then, you are lying. Why would I lie? Isolde typed back. She is supposed to be my friend too. Ask anyone. Ask your own family members. They have all seen it. I'm only telling you because I love you both. What happened next happened fast. No phone call to Thessaly, no quiet evening to sit with the accusation and test it, no asking his mother, who was right there in the same compound with Thessaly every day. Just rage, cold and immediate, and a phone in his hand. Thessaly saw his name on her screen and her heart lifted. She had not heard from him in 2 weeks. She picked up on the first ring. "Crispin, I was just thinking about—" "Shut up." The words landed like a slap. Silence. "What?" "I know everything," he said, his voice low and hard. "The clubs, the men, everything. Don't insult my intelligence." "Crispin, what are you talking about? What clubs? I have been in your mother's compound every single—" "We are finished," he said. "Do not call this number again." The line went dead. She called back, disconnected. She called again. The number rang once and cut. She sent messages. They went grey, blocked. She sat on the mat for a long time, holding the phone in both hands, staring at the screen. Outside, someone was pounding yam. A child was laughing. The compound was making its ordinary evening sounds. And Thessaly sat in the middle of it, alone, with the feeling that the floor had simply disappeared beneath her. If this story is touching you, please like this video right now and share it with one person who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? You don't have to give details, just say yes or no. I am reading every single comment. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this story is not finished. The morning Mama Crispin came to her door, Thessaly had not slept. She had spent the night sitting against the wall of her small room, knees drawn to her chest, replaying Crispin's voice over and over. "We are finished. Do not call this number again." She had searched her memory for the clubs, the men, the behavior she was being accused of. There was nothing. Only this compound, only this fire, this washing stone, these heavy buckets. Only 7 years of her life poured into a family that had never once called her a daughter. The knock came just after 6. Mama Crispin did not wait for a response. She pushed the door open and stood in the frame with her arms folded. "Pack your things," she said. "Pack everything and leave my house today." Thessaly stood up slowly. "Mama, whatever you heard is not true. I have been here every day. You have seen me. You know I have not—" "My son called me," the older woman cut in, her voice flat. "He told me what you are. I don't keep that kind of woman under my roof. Pack your load." "Mama, please. 7 years I have been in this compound. 7 years I cooked your food and washed your clothes and now you are leaving," Mama Crispin said, "before I call people to remove you." She packed in silence. Her hands moved through her few belongings mechanically, folding her wrappers, tucking the blue silk scarf into the bottom of the bag, placing the perfume bottle on top with a gentleness that surprised even her. She picked up the small bag. She walked out of the room, through the compound, past the scrubbing stone, past the firewood pile, past the kitchen where she had spent thousands of mornings. Family members stood and watched. Some whispered. One of the younger boys laughed. She did not look at any of them. She kept her eyes on the gate. She walked home the long way. She did not know why. Maybe she needed the time. The red earth road stretched ahead of her in the early morning light, and she walked it slowly, her bag over one shoulder, tears coming quietly, not the loud crying of performance, but the deep kind from somewhere that had no name. When she finally reached her mother's door and knocked, her mother took one look at her face and pulled her inside without a word. Thessaly put her head on her mother's shoulder and wept until the sound that came out of her was not even crying anymore. It was something older than crying. 3 months passed. 6 months. The village moved on the way villages do, swallowing one story and waiting for the next. Then the news broke like something thrown from a height. Crispin was coming home. and he was coming home to marry. The compound was already being decorated, and the woman walking around in it, trying on a white lace gown while Crispin's aunties clapped, was Isolde. Thessaly heard it from her mother's neighbor, who heard it from the woman who sold pepper near the junction. She sat with the news for a full day before she moved. Against her mother's pleading, she put on her oldest Ankara, the faded one with the broken hem, and walked to Crispin's compound. She told herself she just needed to see, that she would not make a scene, that she only needed her own eyes to confirm what her ears refused to believe. She saw Isolde through the open parlor window, standing in white lace while a seamstress pinned the waist. Isolde was laughing, head thrown back, one hand on her hip. She looked like a woman who had never done a wrong thing in her life. One of Crispin's aunties spotted Thessaly at the gate. "Eh, what do you want here? Are you mad? After everything, you still have the face to come here? Leave this compound before we disgrace you." The gate was pushed shut in her face. She attended the wedding. She could not explain why, even to herself. She stood at the back of the crowd in that old wrapper, invisible in her plainness, and watched every moment. The agbada Crispin wore, the way Isolde walked down the makeshift aisle like she was owed the earth beneath her feet. The vows, the rings, the cake, the first dance, Crispin's hand on Isolde's back, Isolde's smile wide enough to swallow the room. The music was loud. Nobody heard the sounds Thessaly was making. She stood under a neem tree and let the wedding happen, and then she walked home in the dark and sat beside her mother in silence. "God sees everything," her mother said quietly. "I know, Mama, but knowing and feeling are different countries." She rebuilt herself the only way she knew how, slowly, quietly, without announcement. She started waking early again, not for another family, but for herself. She set up a small trade selling akara and pap at the roadside before the morning rush. She went to church. She saved. She learned to sit with her own company and find it adequate. It took time. Some mornings were heavier than others, but she kept moving. Then, 5 months after the wedding, the village awoke to news that spread faster than rain. Crispin and Isolde's rented house had burned to the ground overnight. They had escaped in their night clothes, nothing else. All of Crispin's documents, his travel papers, everything that connected him to his life in England, gone. He was stranded with no money and nowhere to turn. Within 2 months, Isolde had packed her things and gone to a cousin in Lagos. The marriage, built in a single season of lies, collapsed before the next one arrived. People in the village said what people always say: karma. God is not sleeping. What you do to others finds its way back. Crispin ended up driving a minibus at the motor park, struggling for daily bread. He who had returned from England in Italian shoes was now wearing rubber slippers and arguing with passengers over 50 naira change. He said very little. He kept his eyes on the road. And Thessaly? A businessman named Evander came to the village for a burial. He was from Enugu, quietly successful, the kind of man who did not need to announce himself. He sat across from Thessaly at the reception without knowing who she was, watching her move through the crowd with a ease and a warmth that drew his eye. He asked the woman beside him, "Who is that?" The woman told him everything. The 7 years, the suffering, the betrayal, the wedding she attended alone, the way she had rebuilt herself after all of it. Evander sat with that story for 2 days. Then he went to her mother's house properly, kola nut, palm wine, the right way. "I have been told what you went through," he said to Thessaly when they were finally alone. "I am not here because I pity you. I am here because the kind of woman who survives what you survived and still has kindness left in her eyes is the only kind of woman I want to build a life with. Tessali looked at him for a long moment. I am not the same woman I was before all of that. Good, he said simply. I am not looking for who you were. I am here for who you are. She made him wait 6 months. He waited without complaint. He courted her with patience and consistency, showing up, following through, never making her feel like a prize or a charity case. He treated her like a choice he had made clearly, with both eyes open. Their wedding was in the village. It was everything. A live band, an Abuja caterer, Asoebi in deep burgundy and gold, her mother in the front row with tears she did not try to hide. Tessali wore cream and gold ochre, and she was radiant in a way that had nothing to do with the fabric. She was at peace. That was what people saw and could not quite name. She was finally, fully at peace. Evander heard about the wedding through social media, like everyone else. She tried calling. The number did not connect. She went to Tessali's mother's house. She is in Enugu now, the mother said. She is well. The door closed, softly but completely. She found the address eventually. She stood at the gate of a large compound and asked the gateman for Tessali. He went inside. He came back. Madame says if you want to see her, you must call ahead and book an appointment. She is very busy. Isode stood on the street outside that gate for a long time. Then she walked away. Crispin saw Tessali once. He was driving his minibus through town when a black SUV pulled up at a traffic stop beside him. Through the window, he caught a glimpse. Cream Ankara, a calm face, eyes looking out at the city with an expression of someone who had made peace with everything. Their eyes met for less than a second. Tessali looked forward. The light changed. The SUV moved on. Crispin pulled off the road. He sat with the engine running, both hands on the wheel, and stared at nothing. He thought about the call he made without asking questions. He thought about the gate he allowed to be locked against her. He thought about 7 years of love thrown away on a lie he never once stopped to verify. Somewhere in the city, in a large, comfortable house with a garden, Tessali was laughing. And that is where the story ends. If this story stayed with you, please subscribe right now and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story from this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that patience is not weakness and that good people always get their reward. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. I read every single one. And tell me this, what lesson from Tessali's story will you carry with you? I want to know. See you in the next story.